Picture this visual of an Indian kitchen. The father is grating coconut while the mother is cooking a meal. The daughter of the family is putting back things on the shelf while the son is playing with a cuddly soft toy. No, this is not a visual from a sequel to The Great Indian Kitchen, the Malayalam blockbuster, but an illustration from the pages of a standard 3 textbook of Kerala schools. In an effort to break gender stereotype in school textbooks, the state government of Kerala has introduced uh, gender neutral illustrations in textbooks. I have with me Vivek, who has done a deep dive by going through a number of school textbooks and figuring out how this plays out. And he will tell us more about this phenomenon. Vivek, what is happening in Kerala schools?
Thank you, Premanto. This academic year, the State Council of Educational Research and Training, which is the SCERT, which is the state body for textbooks and other education-related stuff. They have come out with revised textbooks for the standards that you've mentioned. It's for standard 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th. And I was intrigued by seeing an Instagram creator's video on this topic, which said the Kerala government has come out with a textbooks which has gender neutral illustrations. So I took a deep dive and I went through a lot of textbooks, which are all made available online, which itself is a good thing from the government's part. So I went through a lot of textbooks, and I realized that it's not just being gender neutral. The textbooks also talk about a lot of concepts that are usually not spoken about in school textbooks, at least not in such early classes. So let me start with an example. The first standard textbook of Malayalam language has an illustration of the first cover page has an illustration. It's a glorious illustration which has a lot of components. It's very colorful, bright, which will really appeal to the small kids. But it also has an illustration of a kid on a wheelchair, which I thought was very different.
Yeah.
Yes, very inclusive. I've at least not seen any illustration of anybody on a wheelchair in any of the textbooks ever. So that is one bit. The same cover also has two kids at the center of the illustration. One kid is a girl, we can identify from the dress. The other kid, though, has a very gender neutral attire. It could be a trans person.
Okay,
and
so
that is
moderately dressed person, so could be a trans.
It could be a trans person. The second kid is wearing pants and a t-shirt, but she or a trans person has long hair, and it is not explicitly shown that it's a guy or a girl, which again will pique the kids' interest, and they will ask questions about this. So that's starting so early from class 1 is a great achievement for the Kerala government, I would say. Then moving on to the class 3rd textbooks. One textbook has the father of the house cooking in the kitchen, while the mother is waking the daughter up and bringing her to the kitchen, which is not a scene that we usually see in illustrations. Usually we see fathers either coming back with a suitcase from work, or in Kerala context, which is a usual scene that is seen in almost all the households, where the father is reading a newspaper with a cup of tea by his side, and the mom is cooking in the kitchen. So that is one change. Another illustration shows the father, like you said, grating coconut in the kitchen, which is again not a very usual scene that we see. A lot of men who do help in kitchen across India and across the world, I'm sure. But this visualized uh, depiction of labor being undertaken by men at home is a great feat. And it when class three students learn about it, see the picture, they will ask questions, and there are questions in the textbook itself that prompts kids to say describe the scene at their houses. So the teacher will get a chance to initiate a dialogue about labor distribution at their homes. And at such young age, I think it would be phenomenal for kids to understand that household chores are not just for the women to do, but also for men to take part in.
Yeah, so as you
So
said in your copy, and as you have just pointed out, that this is definitely a message that's being imparted, that household chore is not a gendered thing. And now, moving ahead, there is also in your copy, you mentioned that there is also the idea of normalizing gendered things, like in the sense, boys playing with dolls, girls
yes,
playing football or cricket, um,
yes.
a wheelchair-bound child being out and being active. So, if you could tell us more about that.
Yeah. So again, in the textbooks, there are illustrations. There are a lot of illustrations, and the government has taken care to spread these out in different portions across standards. Uh, so another illustration shows that there are the illustration talks about labor and different types of jobs people can get, like careers people can pursue. And there is a doctor, which is a man in a doctor's coat, waistcoat, and all that. But the usually we see when we imagine a truck driver, we usually imagine a man. But in the illustration, in the truck, inside the truck, there is a girl wearing a cap, which is very unusual. There is a dedicated chapter dedicated to. I mean, there's a dedicated chapter for uh, that describes a young girl's aspirations. Initially, she wants to become a trapeze artist because what she wants to do in life is to fly. So at the age of 4, I guess, she sees a trapeze artist. That's a form of flying for her. So she wants to become that. By the time she's 8, she comes across Kalpana Chawla's illustrations and photos. So she wants to become an astronaut. Uh, by the time she's 18, she wants to become a fighter pilot. So that Wings of Dreams is the chapter's name, if I'm not wrong. This chapter also tells girls that there is no there are no restrictions when it comes to aspiring to pursue any career. And fighter pilots are usually, we associate fighter pilots with men, but it needn't be like that, is what the textbooks are trying to say. Uh, there are illustrations of girls shown playing football. 3 of them are playing football. There are kids playing cricket, and it's not just the guys who are playing cricket. There are also female characters who are girls who are playing cricket in those illustrations. And like you said, there is a very endearing illustration of a boy playing with a doll. Usually, boys are associated with cars and trucks and maybe even guns. Uh, but in this textbook, he's playing with a boy. I mean, so sorry, he's playing with a doll, and the captions to the illustrations even say, "How would you bathe the doll?" or "How would you ready it up?" Or, that sort of language is used in the textbooks, which again will be a relief to a lot of boys who are not very so-called masculine in their approach. And there are a lot of kids who get bullied in schools for this. This will come as a huge relief for them if and if taught effectively. if teachers, I feel teachers, if they, I'm sure they will take good care of utilizing this powerful illustration, these powerful illustrations to initiate dialogues with the kids. If they do it very effectively, I was just thinking yesterday, the next generation of students from Kerala will be very progressive and very open to gender neutral ideas.
Which brings me to the next question. This effort itself is amazing and great, but are the teachers being sensitized to impart such, nuanced lessons to the children? Are there efforts to do that too?
So, as far as I know,
Mhm.
yeah, sorry.
So, no, because a lot of times our teachers tend to be like, stuck in some sort of a rut and are often accused of, upholding patriarchal ideas. So which is why I'm
True.
asking this.
Yeah. So I did speak to a few teachers who will be teaching these textbooks. So from them, what I got to know is that there have been directions given that these illustrations could be a talking point, and it's very evident from the fact that the textbook itself has questions that help initiate dialogues. And teachers in Kerala government high schools, the standard of teachers are very high. Uh, they are at par with any other schools, any other syllabus, any other schools that follow other syllabus. So I'm sure teachers will do a great job. And the couple of teachers I spoke to, they were really looking forward to initiating such dialogues in the classroom. Because these illustrations comes later in third chapter and all, so they have not reached there yet. Schools started just 2 weeks ago after the summer break.
Our viewers would know that Indian schools and school textbooks are not really politically correct in a lot of cases. As recent as in 2017, we had a state school textbook from Maharashtra, which a standard 12 textbook, which talked about conventional standards of beauty and talked about how quote unquote ugly women tend to find difficulty in finding partners, which is why dowry is asked on from them. So when it comes to this, this is of course a very refreshing step, a very progressive step. But how do you think this can have a larger implications, Vivek?
Uh, you're right. School textbooks have always been regressive. They have propagated patriarchal ideas and like downright offensive ideas, if I would say it like that. Because, like you said, ugly girls, the whole concept that there are ugly people as opposed to beautiful people is in itself a flawed concept. It's all based on someone's perspective, right? So, in textbooks, drilling down the idea that there are ugly women or ugly girls who can be sent off as if they are some commodity by paying some dowry is a very regressive uh, concept. So I'm glad whenever such things are figured out in textbooks, like whenever such things come out in the news, there'll be a lot of outrage, and rightly so, and things are corrected. But then the sad part is that there is some actually think that it is okay to propagate such ideas. In the end, all employees who are responsible for the textbooks are also human beings. They come with their own perceived notions and biases. So it is a great step that the Kerala government has taken by introducing such illustrations and such ideas so that the rest of the country can learn from it, get inspired, and hopefully, emulate if that's possible.
finally, because you've gone through a whole lot of these textbooks, if you could tell us what is the most progressive and heartwarming illustration or visual for you from these lot, and why?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people are talking about the man in the kitchen illustration. That has become the talking point, so to say. But what really touched my heart is the chapter with a girl who's on a wheelchair. So she's a person with a disability, and she is treated with so much dignity without any discrimination, just like the other kids. It is just mentioned in a matter of fact way that this is Ninu. Ninu uses a wheelchair to move around. That is it. There is no pity. There is no sympathy garnering for that character, which is not needed. And I spoke to persons with disabilities, and they found this change a very welcome move. They said that even though there are activities that we can't be part of because of our so-called disabilities, there are a lot of other things that we are good at. So it is very important for us to feel included, which is not the case in most of the country and around the world. Actually, it's not an India specific thing. But that the whole chapter is about this character called Ninu, who's on a wheelchair, and she is visiting a friend's village. So and with her other friends who are so all of the gang, the entire gang visits that friend's village. They visit a lot of places in the village, including a pond. And there is a scene where the other kids take a dip in the pond, but even in that illustration, they could have avoided giving that Ninu character a reaction, but they did, and the reaction is saying that I am so happy that these people are happy, which in turn says that she has no issue that she is not being able to take a dip in the pond, because she knows that she'll be good at a lot of other things. Maybe she cannot do this, but she can do something else. So I thought that was the most inclusive, very progressive, and not at all preachy part in these textbooks.
On that inclusive and beautiful note, we end this discussion. Thank you, Vivek, for bringing this beautiful story to the Indian Express readers and viewers. If you like this video and like this discussion, do subscribe to the Indian Express YouTube channel and keep watching our videos. Thank you.